Here's what I wish someone would have taught me about avoiding wrist strain when I first started yoga. Today, I'm going to teach you a simple foundational technique for your hand placement in your yoga practice. This will help you protect your wrists in weight-bearing poses like plank, downward facing dog, anything in tabletop hands and knees position. This technique is called Hasta Bandha. Bandha is the yoga term for body lock, where we engage specific muscles to direct energy and create stability. So Hasta Bandha means hand lock. Something I see very often in my yoga classes is my students struggling to move the weight out of just their wrists right here and spread more of the work into the rest of their hands, their fingers, which leads to dumping into the wrist joint. And this just isn't comfortable, and our wrists are one of the weakest parts of our body and very prone to injury. And in poses like downward facing dog, chaturanga, plank, not only are we putting our full body weight on our hands and our wrists, but our wrists are also in full extension, this angle right here, which puts a lot of stress on the tendons and soft tissues, and without proper technique can lead to overload and strain. So before we explore Hasta Bandha together, let me just show you exactly what we're going to be doing, exactly what it is. So if you spread your fingers wide, we want to put most of our pressure down on the mounds here at the base of your fingers and the base of your thumb, especially right here and right here, okay? And then also we really want to press down through the finger pads up at the top of your fingers. So that's going to create a little bit of a suction. So we'll try this together. First, just start seated or wherever you're at and take your hands together in prayer position in front of your heart. And then you can just spin your fingers away from you. And don't think about what I just said, just hands together. And then look down and notice that there's no space between the heels of your palms, so right under there. All right. And now you can just take your fingers back up and we'll start to press through those points we talked about. So you're pressing the mounds at the base of your fingers and your thumb together firmly, and then pressing through your fingertips too. Avoid putting pressure on the heel of your hands, especially the outer heel, if you will, that's on the pinky side, the pinky finger, the little finger side, okay? So we're pressing actively through those points, avoiding pressure in the heel of our hands, and then spin back to where we were and take a look at what you see. And there should be a little space there, I don't know if you can see mine, where you could fit maybe a pencil through that little space. And can you also feel or notice how the center of each palm is lifted or suctioned outward, so you're creating a lot of space in the center of your palm. Okay, release that, shake it out, and let's bring this to the mat and put it into practice. So come into your tabletop position, and I like to start practicing this in a less intense posture, so don't go right into a high plank or something that requires a lot of strength and body weight. Let's start in just a classic hands and knees posture. Align your wrists under your shoulders so you're stacking your joints here. Spread your fingers very wide and then have the middle finger pointing straight ahead. Now root down through those points we talked about. Start by thinking about the mounds at the bottom of your fingers and thumb. Those can be considered your primary pressure points here. So really press down through that, okay? And then we're gonna bring some pressure through the fingertips, the knuckles, and those could be considered your secondary pressure points here. And then the most important point, the most important thing here is to think of lifting up through the center of your palm like you're drawing energy up from the earth, okay? That's gonna create that suction up through the center of the palm. Sometimes I like to say, pretend there's a ladybug in the center of your palm and you're trying not to squish the ladybug, but you're still pressing down through the base of your fingers there very actively. So a few things to consider as you're practicing this. Like I said, I do encourage you to start in the more simple postures, just like tabletop. You could explore it while you're doing cat-cow before you get into the more full weight-bearing postures like high plank or downward facing dog. And just start to check in with your hands during your practice. Be intentional about it. Take a moment, take a breath, and check in if you're maintaining that lift up through the center of the palm. And the most important thing is to just avoid dumping all your weight down into the heel of the hand, down into the wrist. It will take time to make Hasta Bandha a habit, but trust me that this very minor adjustment can make a huge difference in your practice. It's one of those foundational techniques that not only will help make your practice more comfortable, but will also help you get more out of every pose. If you have any questions or just thoughts about this, I would love to hear from you. I'd really love to connect, so please drop me a comment and I will get back to you. And now that you've learned the proper hand positioning, it can also be really beneficial to spend just a moment before your practice warming up your wrists. So I'm going to share with you my go-to 5-minute wrist warm-up sequence. I'll put it right here so you can head on over, and thank you so much for joining me today.